Conscious collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, guys. It's me, Lisa.
And I'm Emily, and we are the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. What up, Lisa?
Hey, how's it going?
So great. Exciting, because I think this will effectively be our last podcast of 2024, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, second to last.
Well, won't the second one come out after? No, that's a lie. Okay, you're right.
No, I mean,
You're
it's
right.
rare.
We got two more. I just don't math. I don't math real good.
That's okay. I don't either. Who does math?
Who does math?
It doesn't make any sense.
If you do, come holler at us.
we're open to hire. You
can definitely be a collaborator.
Yeah, no, but still we're in a very reflective mode, and I don't know, like getting all the yearly recaps, and my phone's been sending me these cute recaps of 2024, which I like, because we talked about this before, but I have a Samsung, and it does like these photo recaps, and sometimes like the recaps are things that you never want to see again, like
a little bit violating there.
Yeah, car accident or hurricane damage or something that you recorded with your phone. But it's done a really good job of giving me yearly recaps, and it made these really cute collections, like people you've smiled with this year. And so like
that's cute.
Yeah, it was really cute. And like,
it is a journal of sorts, I suppose, even the less pleasant stuff, right?
Yeah, but I love that and like who should take the most selfies with. You're in it, so you've been properly labeled in it. You've smiled with me and taken lots of selfies, and you're up there with Ainsley, my daughter, and some of the cats.
I think that's kind of a good segue into our topic today, as we're kind of dancing around the idea of like not wanting to see the less
trauma,
the less pleasant stuff. And so as topic ideas often come to me, I find that to be one of the more positive uses for me for scrolling social media, primarily Instagram. And I just came across, I have no idea who the people in this clip are. It was like the last in a thread of little sound bites. So this is just from a little sound bite. I have no idea who to credit, and I don't think it's, a supremely like original idea. Like this guy was the first person who ever thought of this by any means. It's just kind of it's just kind of a lens to put on a very natural piece of the human experience, and definitely resonated for me. But the phrase that I want to kind of umbrella off of is that when we experience stress, and of course I'm talking about the chronic kind, not the quote unquote good kind of stress, hormetic stressors, exercise, and things like cold plunge and sauna that we apply to ourselves and adapt and get stronger and better following. I'm talking about the chronic kind that ends up manifesting in physical and mental illness, etc. So just to set that up. But so he says, stress is not a result of the emotion that we're feeling itself, that we perceive as negative somehow. It's not the emotion itself. It's our resistance to the emotion that actually creates the stress, the chronic stress, and the, effectively blocking of the processing of that emotion. So we're actually then shoving that emotion back inside of us just because we don't want to feel it, right? I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. So we do whatever we do to sort of disassociate, detach from that emotion, but then we don't process it. So we keep it, and it adds up and adds up and adds up, and ultimately manifests as all sorts of issues that can arise from the chemical processes that are happening, and the inflammation and all these sorts of things. So, but I really like that viewpoint, because again, it puts us in the seat of power, which is kind of a theme of what I'm seeking in my life lately. Is like, where can I control things and make changes, and where do I have the power in this situation? And by intentionally not resisting an emotion, I can really, really over time, I think, reduce my stress load and just improve my coping mechanisms altogether. This could be, I can see it as a challenge, a potential challenge, especially for us air signs who could really automatically kind of detach from these things, these feelings that make our face wet.
Air signs, or anyone in like a leadership or parent position where you have people looking up to you that you have to keep a strong face for. I love those,
nursing, right?
Yeah, and nursing. I love those Instagram reels that you see that the audio's gone viral, but it's where like business owners or anybody,
parents, right?
Yeah, they're like sobbing in a corner and they have to reply to something. So they stop sobbing just long enough to like text out, bang out a reply. And the reply is like, have a great day. Or like,
LOL.
Yeah. And then go back to crying. There's this thing in shamanism and the type of feng shui that I practice in the Black sect is we talk about things happening in threes. So if you hear of something happening 3 times, to pay attention to it. It could be something speaking to your subconscious to bring awareness to it, to help bring it to the front so you can move through it, process it, or look for an opportunity or a threat. And
is that where the deaths happen in threes idea comes from? Right? Have you heard that? Like deaths happen in threes?
And I don't think that comes necessarily from one origin, but I think that 3s and 9s are cross culturally. It's like a magic number or a sequence that people look for repetitions.
Is that why cats have 9 lives?
Yes, I think so. It could be. I mean, I don't know, but it's a common numerical thread. Actually, like 369 is like an abundance code.
Damn, she fine.
And also that. But anyway, it makes me think about, because I have heard at least 3 repetitions of this concept. But have you ever read the book, You Can Heal Yourself by Louise Hay?
No.
So it's a good one. I read it when I was going through separation and divorce. And so it talks about this concept. And one of like the major things that happened to me in a time of stress, because I'm a mom and a business owner. Obviously, I was stressed out doing all these things, like having a fledgling business and like the kids, and then going through a separation and divorce. I thought I was fine. And people were like, Lisa's the most chill, relaxed person. She's not stressed at all, but my skin was not having it. And like I developed the worst case of eczema ever. and it would literally flare up over any any document meeting that pertained to that time, especially in terms of my divorce. And so I was like thinking by pushing it down, it would go away, and like not dealing with it and keeping a front. I thought like take it till you make it, which I was doing in many ways. Like no one knew I was under any stress. The kids thought everything was fine, clients, so on and so forth. But it was just bubbling up, like the inflammation manifested in such like a monstrous thing that it took several years. I mean, just recently for it to clear up. And it's been over 3 years that I went to a wellness center, tried everything, like all the topical solutions, all acupuncture. They made me special teas and everything. And it wasn't really so much. I mean, yeah, there was a systemic thing happening, but really what the root cause was stress. And I was not admitting that I was under stress.
Yeah.
Or allowing myself to admit that I had stress or whatever, emotions were tied to that, which were many. But it wasn't just, something that could be fixed by like a salve or a tea or a detox or sunlight. It was like you said, like the processing and allowing myself to admit that I actually had many things tied up into this emotionally.
I mean, our body is a container. So, I mean, I don't know if you feel the same, but and I've done a lot of work to kind of work through this stuff. But my biggest example is definitely back in the nursing days, and what I imagined I was doing is, and I know if you're just listening, you can't see me, but throwing the emotions away from my body. I wasn't thinking of it as I'm
it down,
pushing them down in, but that's exactly what I was effectively doing, was just shoving it, in there. And so your body is a container for all types of energy, both the kinds that you can see and the kinds that you can't see. And it's going to start to, it's going to start to interact with the rest of your body. And I couldn't even, I went on a whole journey, quote unquote, just to change my health, right around that same time frame. But I couldn't even tell you how different my health is altogether now for a variety of reasons. But I couldn't even sort of unlock that until I started to really get after the emotional damage, damage I had caused myself for all those years. I couldn't even start to unlock the rest of it.
So Louise Hay, I think it's from her, that says stress is the root of all dis-ease. So at the beginning of everything that manifests, and from eczema to cancer, the root core of it is disease. So if you can note where the manifestation of disease is in your body, you can often link it to what the core issue is. And in my case, according to her book, my eczema was only on the right side of my body. And that has a lot to do with right foot forward and like business transactions. So shaking hands. So a lot of, if I reflected back, and which I did, have to think back, like, why am I having challenges, right foot forward? So there was a lot of resistance in moving forward. And there was a lot of resistance in shaking hands, like business. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, definitely like, I think that book can be used as like a reference where you can look at like the glossary of diseases, and then, look at like what side of the body, why is it happening? What could you look at to help you to heal? Where you
It's
might be
probably
stuck.
like a wounded masculine kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
underpinning there too,
Mhm.
which can definitely make you very guarded and um, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think what in even the wellness center I went to is very of that type of practitioner, so that was a really cool wellness center. Um, they had a shaman there, they had acupuncturists there, they had the relate
Mhm.
therapy, they had,
I remember you telling me about it when you first started coming to see me.
yeah, I mean, really neat kind of stuff. But I mean, a good way to feel like, you're investigating something and a little bit more empowered rather than just taking a bunch of prescriptions. Because like the worst thing that happened in that case was my dermatologist giving me a steroid medication.
Hmm.
That was like very heavy and damaging and had a lot of adverse effects. But by going to like the wellness center and exploring other avenues and just really looking at it, investigating. And you're right, like it had a lot to do with how I was presenting myself masculinely instead of feminine, allowing myself to be playful or intuitive or curious or, all of the feminine traits. But for
Well,
some
in a
reason,
dysfunctional way, right? Like
yeah,
we can, as we talk about often, utilize our masculine energy in a very effective
harmonious.
way. But when it's,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of women these days, much like, there are a lot of men who have a wounded feminine expression for various reasons. I think a
Mhm.
lot of women have some wounded masculine stuff to work through and
It was definitely
manifest
like
in
an
different ways.
imbalance. It was
Hmm.
like a young imbalance. And as soon as I started to even harmonize and look at things with like, more curiosity and movement and holistic practices and that type of thing. I mean, it took a long time, but I think it like got to the core of it rather than using a prescription that could make it explode.
Right. Well, and that's the key too. I mean, I think we're kind of veering into a different conversation a little bit, but I mean, you got to you got to look for the root cause. That's I think the biggest flaw of modern medicine,
Mhm.
that it's not uh, set up. It's not
Well, I
structured
think
in
it's
such a way
really,
to where doctors are empowered to actually look for the root cause.
I like that some of them are though. I like,
They're
like
starting to be, but they have
they
to
really
seek
are.
out their own education to do
Yeah.
that.
Or they're
Unfortunately, it's
independent.
not
Yeah.
built into their education.
Yeah. It has to be like an individual pursuit, like, Gopal, that
Hmm.
I met at the
Yep.
wellness event. And the way his perspective is different. Gopal, how do you say his last name again? Oh, I'm going to butcher it. Anyway, I'll come back to it, but from one of our episodes and his holistic practice brought into his
Hmm.
surgeries. Um, anyway, what I was thinking when you were talking about what you heard, being able to process the emotions rather than to avoid them, which we love to do,
Hmm.
especially you and me. I was thinking about that Brene Brown perspective too, is we're just always, especially as entrepreneurs or change makers and thought leaders, um, hearing a lot of talk about follow your passion and then there's your success. And her like clip that I heard from her is like she really does not like that because she believes more in following your curiosity, which has a lot more depth to it because passion is such an extreme. and it's like very unattainable to feel that like extreme amount of dopamine hit. So it's like once you reach that elevated passion, it's like, well, first it's unhealthy um, to think that you can
I think there's
reach
probably
that
some
again.
nuance to it. I think there's probably some nuance to it. I think you could look in certain situations and say, okay, yeah, I was seeking that dopamine hit there, like, that type of thing. But, I also think there's arguments for, of course, if you fall into the thing that you truly are passionate about, that you can show up day after day after day and feel like it's not work. That's
Mhm.
that's not necessarily a bad thing, so long as your mindset is built up to the point where you're aware of not doing it because you're seeking this intense high. I think that could be a lot really well illustrated, at least to me, in romantic relationships. Okay, like seek it,
Absolutely.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean, that sort of instant passion, and
Mhm.
how that could actually be like more of a
A
red
red
flag than
flag.
anything,
Yeah.
because you simply don't have the um, time or capacity yet to understand the elements that are important to actual partnership when you're
Mhm.
really lost in that passion sauce, I guess. And that's
Yeah.
the same could be applied to business, I'm sure, but again,
I
I
think
think
it
it's just
can
like
be applied
nuanced.
to a lot of things. There's
Hmm. Hmm.
um, to business, to relationships, and we always say everything is relationships, but the longest living things are a slow burn.
It
Um,
reminds me of our impulse versus intuition episode.
Mhm.
And as long
Yeah.
as you can kind of identify the difference there, and you're kind of grounded and why you're choosing certain things, I think there's still room for passion.
Yeah.
you know um but yeah, I think
I
as
mean, being
always the
able,
answer is somewhere in between.
yeah, I mean, being able to find groundedness
Hmm.
um, and
Grounded
appreciate.
passion, the controlled flame, right?
Yeah, it's important so you don't just like float away. um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think, sorry if you can
Well,
hear my
controlled
phone.
flame versus like a volcano explosion, like the reel you just sent me. I'm like, is that real?
Yes.
Are they okay?
I don't
And
know. Yeah.
why were they filming the TV
Well,
in the
all right.
first
So the
place?
reel that I sent Emily was someone was watching the TV because it was kind of like how we watch a hurricane coming when a hurricane's coming.
Was the
Well, a
t-
lot of
were
us
they
do.
can
They were
can they predict? So
anticipating
they were
it.
predicting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I don't know if that person was at the hotel in New Zealand knowing that that was going to be within view out their
Within
window.
view, it hit their window.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know if they purposefully stayed there. They should have evacuated. Um, or if that was AI, I don't know, but it was wild in any case.
It was
I mean,
it was quite terrifying to watch.
I don't want to be in the vicinity. Like a hurricane's one thing, but a volcano, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Choose your natural disaster. That ain't it. Well, and
Manji.
then I mean, don't those cause tsunamis too,
Oh
and
yeah, I
earthquakes
mean that's
and
like,
whatnot?
yeah, there's a whole chain
Because
reaction
it
around it.
is kind of an earthquake. There is an earthquake kind of
Well, it's
associated with the volcanic eruption, right?
taking me back to third grade.
I was going to say we're getting into are you smarter than a fifth grader territory.
Well, yeah, my daughter can tell you about it. Molten lava, things shifting.
Because it's
Yeah,
plates.
please.
Tectonic
Yes,
plates. I
we're
remember
just
that.
at this point we're just avoiding the topic of at hand. But yes,
How do volcanoes work?
and that's how our emotions are stored
You
in our
put
body.
Mentos in Diet Coke. That's how volcanoes work.
Yes, that's the experiment. Um, yes, you don't want to squash your emotions inside so that it manifests into like a volcano.
look at that. We didn't even make that connection on purpose. That was a total tangent that circled back to our original conversation. Boom.
Explosion.
Explosion.
Yeah.
Is there a volcano emoji?
Yeah, I think there is.
Is there? We should be using that more often. I'm gonna open up my notes just to verify that. Let's see. Volcano.
Yeah.
If you spell it wrong. Yeah, there sure is. That's a great emoji. We need to bring that into circulation.
Yeah, but you don't want to explode into like a rage.
Not a real volcano. No, not a real one.
Volcano,
just the emoji.
No skin eruptions. No, none of that.
Skin. Ooh.
Experiment. It could be,
like cystic acne.
Could be cystic acne. Could be eczema. Could be whatever. Just bad skin. It's kind of like a red flag to see what's happening.
Absolutely. It's your body's way to, it's one of the ways to send, to sound an alarm.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I don't know if you can hear all the chaos. That's not me. Can you hear the chaos happening around me?
No, what is it?
Oh, it's lawn people. There's a lot of them.
Oh, chaotic lawn people.
Yeah, it's kind of like an episode of E.T. over here, like they're descending on the property.
It reminds me of my night shift life where, you're sleeping and you just want to why are you mowing the lawn?
Right. Yeah. Why are the birds tweeting? This is so annoying. Oh, man.
Why are people doing perfectly normal daytime functions during the daytime?
How dare they? Yeah, I don't know. Did we effectively satisfy the curiosity and the topic of the original quote?
I think we circled back to it perfectly with the volcano metaphor, honestly.
Okay, so let's circle back. What was the original quote exactly?
Stress is not a function of the emotion itself that's coming up. It's a function of our resistance to that emotion. So what we are effectively doing is pushing it down, letting it do its thing until it, boom, explodes like a volcano.
So the opposite of that resistance is allowing or accepting.
Yes, feeling it. Don't drown in it. I got some advice once from a mutual friend of ours who just happened to intercept me at a very she's done this a couple of times. She did this a couple of times in a certain time frame, but one exercise that she taught me, which I was very resistant to at first, but I did it. And it works, is she said, whatever comes up, say yes. Name the feeling, I feel betrayed, I feel grief, I feel, whatever it is. And then say yes to it. Just allow it. Say yes. Be like, yes to betrayal. Yes to, whatever the thing was. And I'm like, I don't want that. No.
That doesn't sound fun.
All those things. She's like, just do it. And there's something to that.
Yeah. I agree. And that's a hard lesson.
You can't process it if you don't if you
Identify.
don't allow the discomfort of it. And because it is temporary. If you know,
Mhm.
it is temporary.
Right. So, like, the missing step for me is identifying it, because a lot of people will say, well, how do you feel? And
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know. So, like, the hardest part for me is to identify exactly.
And I mean, I don't think it'd be wise to get into overthinking mode about like what to
Mhm.
call it, but call it something,
Give it a
call it
name.
something. And even if it's, first grader, smiley face, smiley face, straight line face, sad face kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
it can be simple, I think,
Yeah.
to start. Just, I feel sad, I feel angry. And then yes to sadness. Like,
And then
yes,
you'll
I feel
hang
sad.
out
Like,
there,
yes.
allow
And
yourself to hang out there however long, or does it help it to move faster?
right. Because it helps you to process it. Because you
Mhm.
can't process it, meaning move it out, if you don't feel it, if you don't allow
Mhm.
yourself to feel it and be in the discomfort. Because it is it's not temporary if you shove it down and don't allow for the processing of it, but if you do, then it is temporary.
Mm. And then you're processing it out by ways of, like,
Allowing it. Hmm.
allowing it and different whatever
Move through to the
application.
other, because what it's physiological things are happening in your body and to your nervous system as you're feeling an emotion.
Mhm.
um but if you allow it, they'll be transient.
Mhm. Very good. So, what are some physical recommendations and ways that we can help to process things short and long term?
I actually heard on a pod. I got a lot of goodies from this one, but an interesting technique, I guess. Um, and I think this would apply specifically maybe to some emotions more than others. But he was describing the primal. He was talking about stress
Mhm.
and different ways to manage that chronic stress, and one being remove the stressor or remove yourself from the situation, but acknowledging that that can't always happen, for a variety of reasons, whether it's family member induced, or just situations that you don't have the ability to remove yourself from, or remove from your life at that time. And he was talking about how, like antelopes in the wild, for example, because they can't get away, they can't remove the lions, they can't remove themselves from the environment where the lions are. So, and he was talking about this in relation to cortisol as well, which is beneficial if we can. It's a necessary hormone and really awesome for what
Mhm.
it's for, but we don't want it in elevated levels all the
For a
time
long time.
by any
Right.
means. That's very, very bad. So he was saying that the sprinting
Mhm.
that antelopes do in running from the lion actually lowers their cortisol levels in the moment. So he said that humans could apply that in the same way.
Mhm.
When you feel that chronic stress kind of pushing and coming up, like to go drop and do 20 push-ups, or go do an actual like running sprint. This is going to be different relative to your
Yeah.
don't go
Yeah.
don't go sprint if you haven't run in 30 years. Like,
Right.
a sprint just means like a short burst of
Mhm.
maximum intensity exercise,
Mhm.
basically. So that could be a number of different things, but I haven't. It makes sense to me. I haven't truly tested
Yeah.
it for myself yet, with that intention.
Mhm.
But that was an interesting technique that I heard this morning. And of course, if you're not trying to sprint just yet, breath work, breathing,
Mhm.
is, I think the first and lowest hanging fruit, to go to. So it could just be as simple as just taking a pause to take some deep and intentional breaths where that is your only concern of the moment, where you're very present in your breath. Or it could be a technique like box breathing or the Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breathing that we do, or something else that resonates with you. I mean, there's a lot of places you could go with that, a lot of techniques you could learn, but I think it could be just as simple as I am
Mhm.
going to intentionally take deep breaths and do nothing else just for a few minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that comes to mind to me in terms of that, and like allowing to. I mean, I think anything that can help break up and move things through, rather than um, you know pulling yourself up into a room and culminating up in a ball of stress. Um, that yin and balance. But I also think, there's other practices that go along with breathing. Um, when we talk about and allowing ourselves to move and process through those times to help us um, move through stress or to release stress. I like the Ho'oponopono um, practice that you can YouTube. A lot of my friends in feng shui use that. My friend practitioner out in Hawaii, in particular, that's a big part of her practice. Allowing yourself, forgiving yourself, and loving where you are and being in the present.
I got another one too that's not necessarily physically related, but I think another low hanging fruit, one that I tend to personally be really resistant to in my worst times, ironically. I tend to want to, and I think this is common too, to want to isolate yourself, right? When you're feeling
Yeah.
these negative emotions. But if you can put yourself around somebody who taps into your oxytocin, even if you're not, just that very act alone, I think can be very helpful.
Yeah. It makes me think, I mean, that's a common thing for a lot of people, the hermit mode to get through
Hmm.
things. There's a lot of benefits to that, to be introspective and to work on inner self and that
Of
type of
course.
thing.
Of
But
course.
it's so valuable to change your surroundings and views and kind of like shock yourself a little bit, like appreciate things that are different and not.
Well, and at a certain point, the introspection becomes just a toxic, like you're just
Oh,
you're just doing the shoving it
right.
down thing worse.
And then it turns into agoraphobia and hoarding
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
all
it's
of
just
those
not,
things.
it's not cute. It's not cute.
Yeah.
Don't do
So I like that quote. I think that's a good conversation. It's really like reflective too, because I mean, I feel like I had a very good year. There were lots of challenges, but I'm seeing a lot of people having a lot of things that they're processing and a lot of stresses. Um, and we all get there sometimes, and it's all transient, like the stress that we experience. So,
it
um,
can be. It can be. We need to do what we need to do to make it transient so that it's not making us sick.
yes, very good. All right, I love it. Well, what do you say? You say we put a bow on this one and
What do
invite
you
people
say,
inside. What do
kid?
you say?
What do you say? Yeah, I say yes.
Yes, come on inside the Conscious Collaboration Collective, and you can continue the conversation with us inside there. We just had a whole bunch of new people join last week, so just welcome to everybody in
Yes.
about that. So thank you, everybody, and thanks for liking and subscribing and sharing feedback with us. And if you would like to be a guest on the Conscious Collaboration and add to the discussion with our listeners, I promise I will go into the inbox and answer it faster. So thank you, everybody. And we'll talk to you in 5.
Talk to y'all in 5. Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.